Good evening, I'm Wendy Mesley, and this is The National.
We are considering an appropriate response for this chemical weapons attack.
Donald Trump weighs U.S. military options against Syria. A woman finds hidden cameras all over the house she's renting, including the bedrooms.
Everything was wired everywhere.
Unnecessary medical tests could be doing you harm. And Peter Mansbridge in France on the battle Canada can't forget. As our nation gets ready to mark 100 years since victory at Vimy Ridge, we look at that formative moment. But the meaning is not so simple. Donald Trump is facing the first international crisis of his presidency tonight, considering options for a military strike against Syria. It's a sudden shift in policy against Bashar al-Assad. But much more than that, it sets up a possible high-stakes showdown with Syria's main ally, a heavily militarized Russia, with the world watching. The crisis follows Tuesday's atrocity near the Turkish border. At least 27 children were killed in an apparent chemical weapon attack. Today, Turkish officials said the fatalities may total more than 100. And what's more, said it has proof their horrifying deaths were caused by the banned nerve agent sarin gas. The CBC's Paul Hunter has our story.
For any who doubt Donald Trump's response to the horror this week in Syria will be muted, consider his words today aboard Air Force One on whether Syrian President Bashar al-Assad should now leave power.
I think what happened in Syria is a disgrace to humanity, and he's there, and I guess he's running things, so something should happen.
Tonight, at Trump's retreat in Florida, he's said to be meeting with top U.S. defense officials who are outlining all military options, including targeted cruise missile strikes. Said Secretary of State Rex Tillerson this afternoon.
We are considering an appropriate response for this chemical weapons attack. It's a serious matter. It requires a serious response.
But any military retaliation to this would be extremely complicated. The U.S. has roughly 1,000 soldiers inside Syria now fighting ISIS. And most Syrian military bases also include strong contingents of Russian forces already backing the Assad regime. Today, the U.S. underlined the way forward on removing Assad involves defeating ISIS and stabilizing Syria with some kind of international coalition. As for creating that, said Tillerson,
those steps are underway.
The U.S. has been close to taking military action on Syria before. In 2013, Barack Obama seemed set for a strike, but called it off at the last minute when Assad agreed to give up his chemical weapons. A decision derided today by Republican Senator John McCain in urging Trump to now take action.
And the great failure of the Obama administration was saying they were going to do something about it and didn't.
Leaving, for now, Donald Trump with a decision to make.
Assad's role in the future is uncertain, clearly, and with the acts that he has taken, it would seem that there would be no role for him to govern the Syrian people.
What should the response be after an attack near universally branded abhorrent, horrific, and heinous? And would failure to act mean more to come? It's the first such test for this White House. Donald Trump's answer looms. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
President Trump's decision about what to do with Syria is happening just as he begins to host a crucial meeting with the president of China. Top of their agenda, yet another global hotspot, North Korea. The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe is in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. So, Lindsay, what are we expecting on North Korea?
Well, Donald Trump is expected to put pressure on the Chinese president to exert leverage on the North Korean dictator to rein in those nuclear ambitions. And this will be an intense conversation given the ballistic missile test by North Korea earlier this week and the kind of rhetoric we have been hearing from the White House. But Xi does not want to look like he is doing Trump's bidding. So if that doesn't work, what are the other options? Well, it is possible to open open dialogue with North Korea. And if they don't want to go that route, the United States could look at something called secondary sanctions. And that would mean sanctioning Chinese businesses that do business in North Korea. But that could invite conflict here, Wendy.
So how important is it that these two leaders actually get along?
Well, I don't think they're going to emerge from Mar-a-Lago as the best of friends, but I think the goal here is for them to reach some common ground, especially when you consider the animosity that Donald Trump had towards China on the campaign trail. He got elected by calling out China, especially on trade, especially when it comes to taking American jobs. But the campaign is over, and we're talking about the two biggest economies in the world. So an attempt to reach that common ground is what we're seeing tonight with the friendly, lavish, personal reception here at Donald Trump's private resort.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Lindsay Duncombe tonight. Donald Trump's longtime neighbor in Palm Beach was on Parliament Hill today. Former Conservative Prime Minister Brian Mulroney was meeting with Liberal cabinet ministers, briefing a committee about renegotiating NAFTA with Trump.
He met with the Prime Minister, and he seems to have adopted a pretty reasonable posture. And then the letter from the USTR comes out with a different version of things, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I think they're going to be challenging anyway.
Mulroney is just one of a number of experts the Trudeau government is hearing from ahead of negotiations with the United States. Conservative Senator Lynn Beyak isn't shying away from her comments about residential schools. Today, she called her removal from the Aboriginal Peoples Committee a serious threat to freedom of speech, and said that she speaks for the silent majority of Canadians. Beyak is finding support from at least a few other senators, including one who appears to be no fan of reporters. Katie Simpson found that out firsthand.
Senator Lynn Beyak is proving to be a divisive figure for the Conservative Party. A day after Tory leaders removed her from the Aboriginal Peoples Committee, her colleagues, like Conservative Senator Ghislaine Maltais, openly expressed disappointment in the decision.
Every member to the caucus support you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Division morphed into defense as Maltais tried to stop reporters from asking Beyak questions.
Can we just get your reaction to being removed from the app?
We're in committee here.
Not until the gavel. We're allowed to be here until the gavel.
Outside.
His efforts didn't work.
You wait the senator outside.
But it did spark an outburst from Conservative Senator Kelvin Ogilvie.
I see the parasites are still following.
Ogilvie tried to deny his remark, even though it was said in front of a camera.
Did you call us the parasites for being here?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
We did. Did you call us parasites for being here?
I have no comment on that whatsoever.
Okay, so what do you think?
What kind of silliness is this?
The staunch defense comes after Beyak was disciplined for her ongoing comments about residential schools, where she criticized the lack of attention paid to positive student experiences. Beyak repeated those sentiments in a statement today, saying political correctness is stifling opinion and thoughtful conversation, and that her committee removal is a serious threat to freedom of speech.
These exchanges come as the Senate is trying to improve its image. But between this and the Don Meredith ethics investigation, the upper chamber is having a tough time changing the channel. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Coming up, Peter in Vimy Ridge, France.
Canadians were very proud. The Allies were very happy.
Some say this is where Canada found its identity 100 years ago. We bring you back to the battle and to its lasting legacy. A Quebec man is facing 3 charges of first-degree murder tonight. He's accused of killing 3 women in 2 separate incidents last night. Police say it all started at a home west of Shawinigan. A woman was killed and a man was injured. Then, at another residence nearby, 2 other women were fatally attacked before the suspect was arrested at a gas station. The CBC's Alison Northcott has more.
Investigators were examining 3 crime scenes this morning, all kilometers from each other in and around Shawinigan.
Our homicide unit is currently investigating the murder of 3 persons.
Police say the suspect, 51-year-old Sylvain Duquette, knew the victims and that he began his attacks here, where his 80-year-old father lived with his wife. She was killed. Duquette's father is in hospital in stable condition. Then he came to this house, where he allegedly attacked 2 other women and tried to set the home on fire.
After that, the suspect fled in a vehicle, and he was located by officers in a gas station in Shawinigan. He was arrested there.
Un petit peu en état de choc.
Neighbors and family members are in shock.
T'as hébergé son frère à lui.
Caroline Lamarre says one of the victims was Duquette's sister-in-law, that he had been living with her since shortly before his brother's death last year, but she had recently asked him to move out.
C'est des amis de longue date.
Michel Grenier knew the victims and the suspect for years. He says Duquette liked to walk his dogs and that he had seen him recently but saw no signs of trouble.
Je me doutais pas du tout qu'il aurait été capable de...
He never imagined he could do something like this. But a recent Facebook post by Duquette alluded to tensions in the family.
My father came by here and didn't even look at me or offer me $5 to help me out, Duquette wrote, knowing full well that tomorrow I was getting kicked out on the street like a piece of dirt.
This afternoon, Duquette appeared in court and was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, forcible confinement, and arson. Duquette will remain in custody and has another court appearance next week. He's been ordered not to have any contact with his father. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Shawinigan, Quebec.
You're supposed to feel safe and at ease at home, but a young St. John's woman says that wasn't the case at a property she and her roommate rented after they discovered an elaborate system of hidden cameras throughout the house. The CBC's Jen White has the story.
How did you feel? Awful. Absolutely awful. I felt like I couldn't be in the house.
Rachel Tribble and her roommate moved into this bungalow in central St. John's in November. They were aware of an outside security system that they were told was turned off. In February, while preparing for a trip, they asked the property management company about turning the cameras back on. But when they took a closer look, it appeared they already were. The tenants were told to check the attic. That's where they found this.
A layer, basically, like 2 big screens. There was another camera upstairs in the attic. Everything was wired everywhere. There was also an Ethernet cable, so the internet cable looked like it was hooked up and we could see ourselves walking around in our house.
Cameras in the living room, kitchen, and bedrooms, attached to video and audio cables. Cameras inside these motion detectors.
They had a black dot on them instead of having like a little blue flashing light. Other than that, you would have never guessed.
Tribble immediately started packing her bags and called police. They seized equipment from the home, but offered no further comment on the active investigation. Property owner Kevin Vokey sent CBC an emailed statement. He says the security system was never deactivated. He wrote, "As long as the house was vacant, it was running, and I advised it should be deactivated if they had concerns of privacy." He stresses the video was never streamed outside the house and only accessible to those inside. In emailed statements, Metro Property Management says this is a closed-circuit system and that the homeowner is adamant that there is no external access outside of the home. The company says it was advised that the audio and video in the home was in no way being stored. Rachel Tribble and her roommate moved out soon after they discovered the cameras. They went to a tenancy board hearing today to try to recoup their rent. Jen White, CBC News, St. John's.
An American man has been charged with mischief after an unusual security breach at Toronto's Pearson Airport. Passengers on a United Airlines flight to Chicago were delayed for hours this morning. U.S. officials found what was later described as a mock improvised explosive device in the man's suitcase. Parks Canada will test a 6-kilometer stretch of Ottawa's Rideau Canal for contaminants. It comes after heavy metals were discovered in the waterway's sediment. At the same time, the Ontario government will investigate whether the canal's fish contain dangerous levels of toxins.
It was more like the changing room in a swimming pool than it was like a freezer because of the heat.
Some ancient samples of Arctic ice have been reduced to puddles at the University of Alberta. A malfunctioning freezer destroyed nearly 13% of the ice core archive, which dates back 12,000 years. The melt is a major setback for climate change research. Straight ahead, when medical testing could be bad for your health.
Earth Day has been organized from this office by young people using all the enthusiasm and techniques of publicity which were developed by the peace movement. They have been joined by many politicians, for no one opposes in principle a clean environment.
On Earth Day, we're going to be focusing the whole society's concerns upon the broad range of environmental issues that are coming up, to the whole series of ways that we are destroying the world that some of us really want to live in 30 years from now.
All we are saying is give it the chance.
They gathered in thousands here and tens of thousands there, but in our 136 countries, there were 200 million, the organizers said. But who could possibly count? In Europe, they bicycled. In Central America, they rallied. On Parliament Hill, there was a message from the man who wrote "Never Cry Wolf."
With the help of the Wolf Pack, I want you to pick up that message and bounce it off this building behind me. Now, let's go!
There may have been snow in the forecast and a cold wind blowing, but the drums were hot in Ottawa, even if the crowd was smaller than expected.
No, there's a lot of issues that forcing this thing maybe to the back seat, but I don't know, I still think it's pretty strong.
In Montreal, there was a march through the city.
It's important to remember, people, we are losing our Earth now.
In Toronto, hundreds took part in an Earth Day march, walking from Queen's Park to Toronto City Hall. Here, too, organizers admit the fight to clean up the planet is not easy, but it must be done.
Although the environment is under great stress, we at least can show some hope.
Earth Day sucks. There, I said it. Earth Day sucks.
He's not alone. There's a growing group online. It's not the message. That, Norman says, is good, especially when it involves educating the young about the mess their parents have left the planet in. Now he sees corporations using Earth Day to sell stuff, and he doesn't pull punches.
Earth Day should be every day. This 1 day per year stuff is garbage.
All we are saying is give it the chance.
Would you welcome Mr. Warmth, Don Rickles?
No, you're Catholic and I'm a Jew, and Sammy, you're black. I'm sorry.
Well, a legend of insult comedy. Don Rickles died today. His 60-year career took off when he started taking on hecklers in his audience. Eventually, no one was off limit, not even presidents.
He's sitting there looking at the program going, where does he say he makes fun of me? Where does it say that?
Younger audiences may recognize his voice from Toy Story.
Oh, great. I threw my back out.
Rickles died of kidney failure at home in Los Angeles. He was 90 years old. A new report suggests Canadians are getting more than 1 million medical tests and treatments every year that they may not even need, using up healthcare funding and increasing wait times for others. And as Christine Barak reports, not only is some of the testing and treatment unnecessary, it could be harmful.
Next time you're sitting in the doctor's office, consider this. New numbers show up to 30% of medical tests and treatments Canadians receive are completely unnecessary. While you may think better safe than sorry, think again.
CT scans have a lot of radiation in them. So one wouldn't want that if you didn't need it, because radiation can increase the lifetime risk of cancer.
One full-body CT scan is equivalent to 200,000 airport scans. Add to that the stress and anxiety of taking tests, waiting, false positive results, the risk of adverse drug reactions, the list goes on. And in some cases, it's not just patients that are pushing for these added tests and treatments.
Physicians may be worried about being sued. You know, they want to leave no stone unturned and order every test just to be sure.
The latest report shows overuse happens with common problems, including minor head injuries. Despite being low risk, 30% of ER patients in Ontario and Alberta underwent a CT scan. In Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and BC, doctors are inappropriately prescribing low-dose quetiapine. The antipsychotic drug is used to treat schizophrenia, and it's being given to an increasing number of kids, some as young as 5, to treat insomnia. And 1 in 10 Canadian seniors is regularly using a sedative hypnotic drug prescribed to treat anxiety, depression, or insomnia at some point in their lives. With age, the drugs can be disorienting and lead to devastating falls and fractures.
A lot of it is just habit and routine, and not thinking it through, or not necessarily being aware of some of these other the unintended consequences.
Aside from personal harm, the consequences also include longer wait times for everyone. Experts say patients can do something about it. Next time, ask your doctor, do I need this test, treatment, or procedure? Are there simpler options? And what happens if I do nothing? The answers may surprise you. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
A number of recent controversial court rulings have caused many Canadians to question just how well judges understand the laws on sexual violence. The idea of mandatory education has been a hot topic at a seminar for Canada's newest federally appointed judges. Alison Crawford got rare access to the meeting.
The signs say it all. Myths about women, sex, and consent, which appear to persist.
This is a concept anyone in a courtroom should know.
Even in Canada's courtrooms, when judges are supposed to know the law. In the last 18 months, Canadians have taken to the streets to vent about what they consider outrageous, outdated, and outright sexist judicial comments. Why couldn't you just keep your knees together? I am not convinced she clearly expressed her objections. She did not scream, she did not run for help. At no point did she ever mention this to a friend. Clearly, a drunk can consent. A possible solution, judge school. This week, CBC News was given exclusive access. Canada's newest federally appointed judges are learning the ropes and brushing up on the law, including Canada's sexual assault laws.
We have breaking news for you now. We were hearing earlier today hints of an attack on Syria in retaliation for the chemical weapons assault that is suspected there. For more on this, we go now to Paul Hunter in Washington. So we're hearing of a confirmed attack. What are you hearing, Paul?
Indeed, Wendy. We don't know a lot, but multiple news networks in the United States are reporting multiple Tomahawk cruise missiles being fired tonight towards Syria. Some reports near the city of Homs. We know that Donald Trump's rhetoric has been ramping up all week by those same images the world has seen of that gas attack in Syria a couple of days ago. He was particularly emotional about it in his first comments in the White House yesterday. Tonight, he was being briefed in Florida about all of his military options, including targeted strikes, which appear to be going on as we speak. Among the reports I'm reading is that they're directed toward military bases in Syria. This changes the landscape in that country in a number of ways. There are U.S. troops on the ground in Syria fighting ISIS. There are also Russian forces in Syria backing the Assad regime, mostly at Syrian military bases, which appear to be the target of these strikes tonight. It is remarkable as well, Wendy, how quickly this has happened relative to when the gas attacks happened just a couple of days ago. All of this unfolding as we speak, evidently right now in Syria.
There were previous chemical attacks. There were suggestions from the previous President Obama that there would be a counterattack, but it didn't happen. But now you've got Russia in the game. What kind of a showdown is coming on that front?
Again, and remember how close Barack Obama got back in 2013 toward launching one of these, and then he backed off when he got the pledge from Bashar al-Assad to get rid of his chemical weapons, which evidently he did not, given what we saw this week. Russia is the big question, of course, a big ally of Syria and has stood by Syria in the condemnation of what happened this week. Don't forget there are Russian troops at these military bases that appear to be under attack by the U.S. tonight. Within 48 hours or so from the gas attacks a couple of days ago. So I don't know, it's all unfolding as we speak, Wendy, but it is remarkable how quickly this has happened. Donald Trump was briefed just tonight in Florida on his military options, and evidently he has chosen to act.
Yes, U.S. officials have apparently confirmed this, so we will be following up on this. Thanks so much, Paul. Big development. Paul Hunter in Washington. And coming up next, the National from France. Peter is at Vimy Ridge tonight, and we take you back to that battle 100 years ago and back to the questions about its meaning that have lingered ever since. That's straight ahead.
Showing off some skin has moved from the TV screens to the streets and now to the schools.
It's a hot day. It's very hot. A hot day.
Too hot for some anxious principals.
You know, it was causing a distraction, there's no question.
She sent home this note. Keep the underwear hidden. No exposed boxer shorts. No wayward bra straps.
I think that we're perverted. Like some guy will go, whoa.
From the archives of CBC News.
If a girl should know how to dress for school, I think it's up to them, really. And tight sweaters, well, they're not very good, I don't think. I'd rather see a girl wearing blouses and stuff like that.
Do you enjoy wearing miniskirts?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really prefer them on girls, but also I think it's just that it modernizes the way the girls dress. The skirt rises up when you sit down, so you have to put your books something on your knees or something to hold it down.
I just don't like the idea of them wearing way up here. It's not right.
That was Barbara Emile getting the long and short of the miniskirt story.
School's back all over the country now. Did today's back-to-schoolers reject the dictates of the department stores? Here on What's New, we took a look at how kids actually went back to school this fall, and what we saw were students like these.
You can read a book in jeans, you can go to school in jeans, you can roll down a hill in jeans, you can do whatever you want in jeans.
In the late 60s, there was pressure on the schools to relax dress codes. Shorter skirts, pants for girls, and eventually jeans were allowed for everybody.
The freedom that the children have known for the past 15 years has been just a little bit too much.
The parents have decided to adopt a uniform this year.
They do seem to be more serious.
And we work harder because we look better.
Teachers don't really know whether uniforms make any difference to the children's schoolwork, but both teachers and parents hope the uniform is here to stay.
I guess I was brought up different than most kids. I just don't believe in wearing stuff that's vulgar, as my mother calls it.
A piece of film was supposed to have been cut to open this year's Festival of Festivals, but the organizers couldn't find any, so an old-fashioned ribbon was used instead.
This evening, the gala premiere belongs to a Canadian film, Ticket to Heaven. A number of limousines have pulled up with well-dressed people. Unfortunately, nobody seems to know who they are.
Despite the problems, after the film, it was party time, and there was everything you'd expect at a showbiz bash. Stars, booze, good-looking women, good-looking men, people dancing to the music of Martha and the Muffins, and more booze.
It's Warren Beatty night at the Festival of Festivals, where the spotlight shines on everyone. The ushers at the theater had their hands full. It was their job to make sure the fans and the stars didn't collide. But when the big black Continental pulled up to the curb, there was no stopping the autograph hounds.
I'm very proud of myself from restraining myself from attempting to wrestle him to the ground, because it's exactly what I wanted to do.
This was opening night, a gala for the North American premiere of Joshua Then and Now. There were Klieg lights and limousines, but there were also some charming down-home touches. The star, James Woods, arrived with his proud parents, who came in from Rhode Island for the event.
Now the oh-so-cool set have decreed Canada's little festival that could a must. That, of course, is Robin Williams, Claudia Schiffer.
It's the only film festival in the world where you see all of the most important films. You see a whole year come in advance.
As un-Canadian as it is to gloat, movie critic Roger Ebert says go right ahead.
Yeah, it's okay, Canada. It's okay. It's a real big, real good festival.
Good evening from a place that has special meaning in our country's history, in its very identity, really. This is Vimy Ridge, of course, in northern France. On Sunday, thousands of people will gather here to mark the 100th anniversary of the battle that took place on these fields. We have special coverage leading up to that ceremony, and we begin tonight with trying to understand why Vimy is so important, why Canadians keep returning to this moment, to this very spot. The story of Vimy Ridge confronts Canadians once again. This time in a signal year, 100 years after the battle, 150 years since Confederation. Vimy's cries of triumph and mourning have echoed through the decades. Loudly at times, at others in whispers. Did it create a nation or expose its deep divisions? Battlefield victory or cautionary call for peace? Memory and meaning have shifted through time, so what should we make of it now? Because Vimy demands, always has, that we choose. Starting, as ever, with the battle itself, what it was and what it was not. It began early in the morning, April 9th, 1917, a cold Easter Monday. Canada's 4 divisions, 100,000 strong, and fighting as one for the first time, were grouped in order down the line. 15,000 infantrymen waiting for the attack to begin.
It was utterly dark still, pitch black. You could hear this tremendous swish of the shells overhead, and then just a continuous crash along the line.
I felt that if I had put my finger up, I should have touched a ceiling of sound.
Then they moved over the top, from the heavy muck of their trenches and tunnels.
Or if you weren't frightened, you were a fool. The man that said he wasn't is either a fool or a liar. Just as simple as that. We're just hoping that we could make it, that's all.
Making it was far from assured.
It was no foregone conclusion. The Germans had spent 2.5 years fortifying the ridge. It was a very powerful position.
In fact, more than 100,000 French soldiers had already died or been wounded trying to take it.
His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, then attached to the Canadian Corps, he was accompanied by Generals Currie, Morrison, and Watson.
Britain, Sir Julian Byng commanded the force, though Canadian Arthur Currie led 1 division.
They had about 3 months to prepare for this battle. They integrated new infantry tactics, new artillery tactics.
Currie had been sent by Byng to learn those tactics from the French.
Currie is the man pushing this in the Canadian Corps, and Byng agrees. And these improvements begin to be implemented in time for Vimy.
The assault used the so-called Vimy glide, or creeping barrage. Large guns gave cover just ahead as soldiers ran forward with precise timing, 100 yards every 3 minutes.
Soldiers know where they're to go. They look at the air photos, they look at the maps, they have a better sense of what they're to do.
And it all worked, though nothing could prevent the battlefield horrors of the Great War. After 2 days, they captured most of the ridge, with support from artillery units. War still fought with horses. On the 4th day, the highest point, the so-called Pimple, fell. The battle was won, but at such a cost.
It was soil and mud and sweat and blood. It was where they achieved a great victory, but also where they lost thousands of their friends.
3,600 Canadian dead, 7,000 wounded.
Men fight really for their comrades more than anything else.
side by side and brought out great acts of heroism and great acts of self-sacrifice for others.
Still, after 2 years of losses, the Allies had needed a victory. The Canadians had delivered, and Arthur Currie soon took full command of Canada's troops. The Battle of Vimy Ridge was over. The debate over its meaning was just beginning. The victory had a huge impact on the soldiers and on the home front.
What it did do was make the Canadians think that they were special. And they were. They were very, very good soldiers, and that mattered to Canada, to the Canadian Corps, to the soldiers.
It was all over European newspapers. It came to in Canadian newspapers, so Canadians were very proud. The Allies were very happy.
That brought Canada out of the First World War thinking, yes, I think we can be a country among nations and we have something really to contribute here.
But for all that, the battle itself was of tactical importance only. It was later Canadian victories which actually helped end the war.
The victories of the August, September, October, November 1918 tended to be forgotten, even right after the war.
Those 100 days battles were championed by Arthur Currie himself.
He thought other victories were more important. I think he was right.
Yet it was Vimy that took hold in the Canadian imagination. Brigadier General A.E. Ross recalled its first moments. In those few minutes, he said, I witnessed the birth of a nation. A powerful image for a country still a decade away from full autonomy. Powerful, but not entirely accurate. Because Vimy helped convince Prime Minister Robert Borden that Canada needed more troops from across the country, leading directly to conscription.
Conscription became a hugely divisive issue between French and English Canadians. It really split the country. So it's tough for anyone to argue that the Canadian nation was born at Vimy Ridge.
But it was a tenacious idea, and decades later it would make a strong comeback. Before it did, though, there rose up a new monumental Vimy symbol for Canadians to contemplate.
The Vimy Monument is arguably the single greatest monument to the First World War anywhere.
And that monument weeps like no other monument I know for its lost sons who'll never ever come home.
When you walk that, there's still thousands and thousands of Canadians buried under that soil.
The Canadian National Vimy Memorial sits on land donated by a grateful France.
It's not until the building of the monument there in 1936, its unveiling, King Edward VIII unveiling it, 6,000 pilgrims crossing the Atlantic, that really gives birth to the idea of Vimy.
For this glorious monument, crowning the hill of Vimy, is now and for all time a part of Canada.
Yet what Canada's king unveiled spoke not just of valor, sacrifice, or victory, but of loss and mourning. She is called Canada Bereft. Architect Walter Allward's central figure of his Monuments 20. Here was Vimy tapping a different national emotion.
I think the thing that really comes across to me more than anything else is the grief. The sorrow is expressed in the figures perhaps more poignantly than I've ever seen it anywhere else.
No soldiers, no rifles, no helmets. Instead, a sword being broken. A fallen figure handing a torch to a comrade behind. Shades of Canada's most famous First World War poem. And the two soaring figures atop, justice and peace. Then there are these inscriptions.
It became the gravestone for over 11,000 soldiers who died in France and who had no known graves.
The Vimy Memorial reached beyond its namesake battle, giving a resting place for fallen Canadians from every battlefield and a focal point for a country to remember an entire war.
Around us here today there is peace and the rebuilding of hope.
But then just 3 years later, the world went back to war. And Vimy receded from view.
The astonishing thing about Vimy is it's always been there waiting. When people decide they're going to go back and look seriously at the First World War again and see how it affected this country.
Sure enough, 2 decades after the Second World War ended, Vimy re-emerged, coinciding with an important Canadian anniversary.
There were a lot of discussion about identity in the 60s because we were near the centenary of Canada at the time, and Vimy was part of this discussion about identity and what makes us Canadian.
From Lester Pearson to Stephen Harper, Canadian leaders began referencing Vimy.
That day in 1970, Maple, it was enough to have the Maple Leaf Band and be working and fighting together.
Every nation has a creation story to tell. The First World War and the Battle of Vimy Ridge are central to the story of our country.
Pearson emphasized peacekeeping, Harper, Afghanistan. But each put Vimy in service to an idea of national unity, even if that was at odds with what Canadians in 1917 thought of Vimy.
It was divisive. It pitted French against English, labor against capital, farms against the cities. But that's forgotten now. Now it's a marker of nationhood, certainly in English Canada.
But contrast the glowing idea of Vimy with the shabby condition of its monument by century's end, crumbling from decades of neglect.
It amazed me that Canadian governments would have allowed the monument to fall into disrepair.
Prime Ministers Chrétien, Martin, and Harper changed that, pumping in millions, rescuing the names. After 3 years of meticulous work, it was ready.
Once you see it, you just never forget it. It's a mesmerizing spectacle rising above.
And as her uncle had done some 70 years before, Canada's sovereign was on hand to dedicate it.
To Canada and to all who would serve the cause of freedom, I rededicate this magnificently restored memorial.
I love the fact that we have to keep going back and asking ourselves questions about what these monuments mean to us. Struggling to understand it puts us on a road where we really begin to understand our country better and better each time.
We choose what we say about our past. We select events that are important and have meaning for us, but it's also a reconstruction.
And though the soldiers of Vimy are all gone now, their voices help us do that.
We do regard Vimy as where Canada as a nation really started. When you've seen a man take a whiz-bang in the stomach, you lost a lot of patriotism.
2 distinct memories of Vimy, both rooted in history. The Vimy Memorial is pristine again, ready to teach us that history, if we would learn it. A battle that lasted less than a week, whose meaning we've interpreted for a century. However you choose to see it, the idea of Vimy Ridge will continue to rise up.
Oh, soldiers never die, they simply fade away.
Asking us not to forget. In just a few moments, we'll give you a whole new perspective on what happened here by going to the diaries of one of the Canadians who led the soldiers here at Vimy Ridge. But before we do that, we reach into the archives and hear the words of soldiers who fought here, as first spoken to CBC Radio.
When the bombardment came on, they went down, and when it was over, they came up. We kept on going. We were right within less than 100 yards of their machine guns when the sun broke through. And I still say that the sun in the eyes of these German machine gunners saved our hides that afternoon.
In Toronto today, nearly 1,000 women gathered. Women from kitchens, offices, factories, and schools.
We know very well that we're at the bottom of the economic and the political pile, but not for long.
International Women's Day commemorates an angry rebellion by women sweatshop workers in New York who walked off the job to win decent wages and working conditions. Today, the women's goals and demands are just as pointed.
There's no excuse in the world for us earning 60% of what men earn. That's an intolerable situation.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day.
Is it frustrating to you that a lot of people are simply not aware that today is International Women's Day? A lot of women are not aware.
Well, sometimes it is frustrating, but on the other hand, the celebrations have been growing from year to year. I mean, to have 5,000 or 6,000 people out in the street in Toronto is quite a feat, let me tell you.
For participants, the demonstration is a declaration of hope and belief that a different kind of society is possible. They're here because they don't accept that women are naturally inferior, passive, and submissive. They don't believe women are born to be dependent. They don't think women are emotionally unstable, unable to make their own decisions. 20 years ago, graduates grappled with the idea of careers. These young women assume they'll have careers and more.
I want to try and have it all. I'd like to have an education and a job that I'm happy with.
We're not as radical, we're more equalist.
Yeah. Like many young women today, these students say they're not feminists. On this International Women's Day, which celebrates the efforts of women to build a better world, they believe that world is here already.
Pop superstar Alanis Morissette's homecoming is a big deal, if not a bit overwhelming for the city that knew her when. You can forgive the good people of Ottawa for not seeing it. They remember Morissette as a teenage dance queen with big hair and frosted lipstick who sang at the mall. Today, at her first press conference since she unveiled her new look, sound, and record, Jagged Little Pill, Morissette was asked to explain what happened to the dance queen.
You know, the biggest changes that I went through personally were between the ages of 16 and 21, and I think it's inevitable it's going to come out in your music, so.
Despite some people's confusion at her radical musical makeover, Ottawa's mayor proclaimed today Alanis Morissette Day and handed over the key to the city.
This just sort of represents that the city that I grew up in, that I went through so many things in, is something that I don't want to really put in my past, really. I just want to make a peace with where I came from, and, I'm apprehensive to accept an Alanis Morissette Day. I'll take an Alanis Morissette moment.
She says her musical priorities and motives have completely changed.
Over the last 4 years, just learned how to write for my own reasons and write for myself, and as I said, it's pretty ironic that the moment I started doing that was the moment that most people related to it.
And the latest now on that breaking news out of Syria. The U.S. military has just launched an air campaign that directly targets the government of Bashar al-Assad. An American destroyer in the Mediterranean has fired dozens of Tomahawk missiles at a Syrian airbase near Homs. Homs is where it's suspected that the chemical weapons that were seen in that attack earlier this week may have launched from. It's a surprise campaign in retaliation for that gruesome chemical attack. We're expecting to hear from U.S. President Donald Trump at any moment. He's at a dinner in Mar-a-Lago. The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe is outside that residence in Florida. Lindsay, he was having dinner with the president of China tonight, and now this. Tell us, what are you hearing? We're expecting there may be a statement fairly soon.
Yes, it is expected that Donald Trump will address the nation in his first position like this, really speaking to Americans about a military action. And it's a military action that a few days ago we wouldn't have predicted Donald Trump would be at the helm of. This is a remarkable reversal of policy for the president. It was not long ago that his Secretary of State said that it was up to the Syrian people, the future of Bashar al-Assad. But since that chemical weapons attack, since the pictures of the suffering children, Donald Trump has had a change of heart and said today, as he was coming here to Florida, that something had to be done. And we are seeing tonight, Wendy, what that something is. In addition to the Chinese president, key members of Donald Trump's cabinet came here to Florida to brief him on what their military options might be. And as a part of any of those briefings, there's a sense of what the consequences could be for going in and doing this. The Americans are concerned about the troops they have in the region. The role there is to assist the local troops on the ground, but as this escalates, once these missiles have been fired, one of the concerns here, Wendy, is will those troops on the ground be a target? And all of this is overshadowed by the fact that Assad's ally is Russia, heavily militarized and part of this conflict. We know that even trying to coordinate actions against ISIS when Barack Obama did not go in and do a strike like this was something that people were very concerned about because of the escalating effect that could happen in the region. And certainly the Russian reaction will be something to watch for tonight, Wendy.
So we've been told 59 Tomahawk missiles launched from these destroyers in the Mediterranean towards Homs, an air base there. A lot of armaments, apparently, planes, perhaps even that's where the material for the chemical attacks may have started from. Interestingly, Putin and, for that matter, Justin Trudeau haven't confirmed that it was Bashar al-Assad behind these chemical attacks. They're still waiting for confirmation of that. And yet today, Donald Trump and Rex Tillerson, his Secretary of State, were very clear that they believed that it had to be Assad. But as you say, a very, very different approach. And I'm also wondering, what does Tillerson was saying today that this called for an appropriate reaction. 59 missiles, we've heard that they've landed. We have no idea what kind of damage has been done at this point. Do we have any idea of the impact, whether this is it? Is there more coming? This is all information we're going to want to hear from Donald Trump.
Yes, and this could be potentially the first step. Problem is we do not have that information yet. The Defense Department would have given the president a number of options here. And the question will be, this be something that the U.S. is getting into briefly and then out and it has an impact and you move on. But this will change the course of the fighting that has been going on for so long and killed so many people. It's interesting to contrast this to the reluctance of the Barack Obama to go in similarly back in 2013, Wendy. And that he was waiting for Congress. Everyone expected that there would be some kind of strike. It didn't happen. In this instance, what we have is an immediate immediate reaction, really, just within a matter of days from an attack from this new president. And I think a lot of Americans will be watching this very closely because the trepidation many people had about Donald Trump was all about what he would do in a situation such as this, when he is making calls that put American lives of the military at stake and also have these geopolitical ramifications with countries such as Russia. So we're just a couple months into the presidency and we're seeing how that is unfolding.
It was interesting today. Justin Trudeau was in New York. He was asked whether he would be part of a coalition in a military attack against Syria. He didn't answer, but NBC, one of the anchors there, is tweeting tonight that Canada was supporting tonight's airstrike. I know you haven't heard from anyone at the White House yet, but that was interesting.
We don't know what support means. Is it moral support? We think this is the right idea. Assad has to go. Or is there some sort of technical or tactical support? There's obviously been a debate in Canada about the involvement that we should have involved in this. And regardless of what support means, I think this is going to be a debate now because this has changed. The dynamic is different, and Canada has to decide what role it's going to play.
We'll get back to you on this. Thank you so much for this. We'll continue this developing story. Please stay with us. Thanks, Lindsay.
This afternoon in St. John's, Newfoundland, a young man named Terry Fox started running.
Many people have run or walked across Canada, but Fox hopes to be the first to do it with an artificial leg.
I got a lot of positive attitude, and I think I can do it.
He calls his running style the Foxtrot. After 25 days in Newfoundland, Terry had raised $25,000.
That song was commissioned by the Cancer Society, which had its own doubts when he started off. Now, as he pounds out the kilometers, the money pours in, most of it in cash.
He's got all the guts in the world. I wish him all the luck in the world, too. And I hope he makes it.
What do you think of Terry Fox?
I think he's great.
He'll make it. He'll make it.
The run to City Hall, down University Avenue, took Terry by hundreds of people. It was an emotional moment for many of them.
I knew I was going to make 20 miles. When people are out there like that, it was incredible today.
We've seen him surrounded by crowds of supporters, but the crowds go home. Terry keeps running.
I'm stubborn and competitive, and I don't know, I really enjoy life. I enjoy challenges. I don't like people feeling sorry for me. I don't like pity, and I wanted to show these other people what I could do.
The National with Knowlton Nash.
Good evening. A story of incredible courage came to an end today at a news conference.
Yesterday I was running, and I had noticed a little bit of hardness in breathing. And I decided I had to go see the doctor, and it was discovered then that the cancer had spread, and now I've got cancer in my lungs. And
From one end of the country to the other, there has been a spontaneous outpouring of support for Terry Fox and cancer research. Rarely, if ever, have so many people been so deeply moved by one individual.
if it comes to the point where I'm told I'm going to die of cancer, I haven't got a chance, I've got to be able to face that. And
good evening. Terry Fox died this morning in a British Columbia hospital 1 month before his 23rd birthday.
Well, he was a very brave boy, I must say, and I feel very sad about it.
Don't cry, love. It's all right. Don't cry, sweetie. It's all right.
I think he touched the hearts of a lot of Canadians, and they all really look up to him.
More than our sympathy, we would like you to express as well our profound gratitude for the gift which Terry gave to all of us, the gift of his own boundless courage and hope.
Canadians everywhere walked and jogged and ran to raise money for the fight against cancer.
He accomplished more in a few short months than most of us can hope for in a lifetime.
More now on that breaking story, U.S. airstrikes on Syria tonight in response to that chemical weapons attack on civilians 2 days ago. We have new statements from the president tonight saying that after years of attempting to stop Assad, it hasn't worked and he has to stop the spread of chemical weapons. Lindsay Duncombe is in West Palm Beach, Florida tonight. We're waiting to get tape of the president. What can you tell us, Lindsay?
Well, it appears as though these missiles, dozens of them, were launched from U.S. warships. They were at an airfield, targeting an airfield believed to be where the attack with these chemical weapons happened, where that attack was launched from. That is the motivator here to have Donald Trump have a dramatic change of opinion on the war in Syria, and his decision tonight will change the outcome of this ongoing conflict that's killed so many. Wendy.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. And that is The National for this Thursday night. Stay with us for the latest. Good night.